And then to finish this off, just a few more classic diseases we'll talk about as well. Now, some infectious organisms are related to viruses. We've talked primarily about some parasitic infections, bacterial infections that can lead problems in the cardiovascular, and most recently we talked about the lymphatic types of diseases. But Burkitt's lymphoma is actually a cancer, a mutation that occurs that's directly related to a virus. Nasopharyngeal carcinoma related to the Epstein-Barr virus. Human herpes virus number 4. Cancer is immunosuppressed individuals, and these individuals that may have been exposed to malaria and/or AIDS patients with compromises in the immune system from chemotherapy and cancer patients. See, these individuals are susceptible to these viruses. Now, typically, we're able to fight off viral infections without problems. But in circumstances where either disease processes have compromised our immune system and/or other infectious organisms have infected our immune system, we may see the presentation of these opportunistic types of infections like an Epstein-Barr virus. Child infections are asymptomatic, transmitted via the saliva, characterized by proliferations of monocytes. It's referred to as infectious mononucleosis. This is the causes are based upon cytomegalovirus and Epstein-Barr virus, and you can see a little higher percentage of antibodies developed for Epstein-Barr virus. Now, you can develop antibodies for the Epstein-Barr virus and not have the disease. You can have antibodies for the herpes virus and not have presentations or symptoms of the disease. But it doesn't mean that you haven't been exposed to it before. Cytomegalovirus, human herpes virus 5, infected cells will swell. We'll see latency period in the white blood cell where this organism can lie dormantly. Patient may be asymptomatic while the infected cells are latent. It's transmitted. It can be transmitted across the placenta. We bring up that point because many organisms and many infections don't cross the blood placental barrier. And so the baby is typically protected from some of these types of insults. However, in this particular case, as you can see, the cytomegalovirus can be transmitted, of course, across the placenta. If that occurs, it can potentially lead to mental retardation. It can be transmitted sexually through blood and other transplanted tissue as well. Now, there are another class of organisms that we also see as bioterrorism types of agents that are in the viral category as well. These are typically referred to as the viral hemorrhagic fevers. The Ebola virus, you may have heard of it, got a lot of media attention previously. Marburg virus, Lassa virus, Argentinian hemorrhagic fevers, certain types of organisms that affect primarily the pulmonary system and can lead to pulmonary bleeding and disruption. This is an electron microscopy of the Ebola virus. The organisms that lead to another disease referred to as Chagas disease, streptozona, is an organism that is a reservoir in the rodents or possums and or armadillos. If you're from the South, you're familiar with rodents, but you're also familiar with the opossum and the armadillos. I've got so many armadillos out where I live, it's just unreal. The vector is typically the Ruduvit bug or the kissing bug, which spreads this type of infection. This infection can really attack the lymphatic system as well. We don't see it so much commonly in the United States, but in areas of South America and developing countries, you see a lot of Chagas disease. I'm sorry. Another organism is toxoplasmosis, Toxoplasma gondii infectious organism. In this particular incident, you can see you have a couple of other organisms that are in the life cycle of the organisms. Either it will live in the tissues of these various other organisms, such as the cow or in the pig, at a specific stage, but then it will also be in a cyst form that can be spread or ingested by domesticated animals such as a cat. But in this life cycle process, obviously, man comes into contact by somehow getting in contact with the organism, either by direct contact or either by ingesting the meat, say from a cow or from a pig. You ingest the cyst, and then the individual becomes infected. A huge disease that causes significant loss of life worldwide is malaria. Plasmodium vivax is the typical organisms that we'll see, but there are different forms. Ovale, malaria, and falciparum are all organisms related to malaria, always spread by the mosquito, the Anopheles mosquito. This is an example of malaria. Again, you can see the organism by these photographs illustrate to you that the organism is actually developing. The eggs are developing inside of red blood cells. These are typical red blood cells that have been infected by the organism. Again, rare cases endemic of this organism are seen in the United States now. The last major reports were back in 1912. The cases that we typically see are typically from people who have traveled from endemic areas and have traveled to the United States, but typically it's not an endemic problem here that we have to worry about. The life cycle of this organism is similar to what we've seen before. Here you see an infected mosquito will bite the human. The eggs will basically be injected into the system, will go and start to grow and multiply inside the liver. And then at some stage, another mosquito will bite and transmit the organism again. And so both the vector and the host both serve as important carriers to continue this life cycle. Leishmaniasis is another disease caused by Leishmania. This is another type of organism, viral agent that can cause or lead to significant disease. Another type, babiosis, another organism, again, as you can see, transmitted by ticks. And this is the schistosomiasis and how the eggs will list or sit into tissue structures as well. Develop our system, our immune system will attack and wall off this organism, so you'll get this hard indurated area, also referred to as a granuloma, that will develop because our inflammatory cells, they can't destroy this organism, they can't engulf it, they can't eat it up. So basically what our system does is it tries to wall it off, and it turns into a hard indurated area. The tissue damage resulting from that, the granulomas, in response to the organism or its eggs being laid into the tissue system, can be immense. This is just another electron microscopy from your book. Nice picture too, illustrating to you the parts of this organism. And then the life cycle, as we've talked about previously with other organisms, again, typically will involve a vector. In this case,